Welcome to the Full Nelson. Today I'm going to be reviewing this Smith & Wesson Model 617, which is chambered in .22 long rifle. It's a 10-shot revolver. When I first picked up this gun, I was pretty excited about it. I had heard a lot of people say that if you wanted a double action revolver in .22, these were pretty hard to beat. And unfortunately, when I received mine, I had read on the internet some people that said recently Smith & Wesson's having some quality control issues. And I thought, well, you know how that is. It might be 1 in every 100 people or whatever, so I ordered this thing. And mine happened to be one of the unlucky 1 in 100 or whatever that statistic would be that had a problem. Mine, when I first received it, I assumed it was a cylinder timing issue because it was spitting lead out between the barrel and the cylinder right here. And so I told them that's what I thought it was. When they sent me the repair notes, they said it was the yoke, which I don't know a lot about double action revolvers, but my understanding is that is this piece here that connects to the cylinder, that there was an issue with it. I don't know if it wasn't machined properly or wasn't fit to the gun properly, but that's what was causing that issue. Also, the trigger was one of the worst triggers I've ever felt in double action ever. And I don't know who got a hold of this thing at their repair shop, but the trigger is 10 times better than it was. And they also replaced or fixed whatever the timing or the yoke issue was with it. And I was so disappointed when I got this thing. I thought, when I get this back from the repair shop, I'm selling it. The trigger was that heavy and gritty feeling, and then having the issues with it cutting rounds in half, and I was pretty disappointed. I'm glad I gave them a chance to make it right. Whoever got a hold of this in the repair shop deserves a raise. I don't know who it was, but it's now one of my favorite guns by far. The accuracy of them is phenomenal. The trigger with whoever worked on it is super smooth. It's just a phenomenal firearm. Anyway, one of my favorite .22s that I own now by far. Now, one of the accessories that I kind of recommend with this that makes it to where you can get a lot more shooting in and a lot less loading is this Speed Bees deal here. Well, I'm going to give you a story about this. This is not a Speed Bees loader. I ordered a Speed Bees loader and this little loading block case and used it. I liked it okay, but I did notice that I was having some alignment issues sometimes. I'd take this thing, snap my rounds in, and when I would go to load them into the cylinder, I was kind of having to twist the loader and things like that. Even when it looked like it was lined up, I was having to do a lot of twisting and messing around. And anyway, ultimately I ended up sending it back. I decided, and in hindsight, maybe I just would have kept it so I could have done a comparison to this one that I got here, but I ended up sending it back along with the loading block or the loading case that I received with it. And really liked the idea of it, but it didn't seem to feed quite as nice as I was thinking. Well, not only that, but I wasn't even sure I was going to end up keeping this gun because some of the issues I had until I went out and shot it after they fixed the trigger and fixed some of those things, and that solved a lot of those problems. So I ended up ordering this, I guess ANSAC is how you'd pronounce it, ANSAC speed loader. And Amazon had these, and then I ended up ordering the Speed Bees loading block because I like that you can actually put the loader in there and close the case, and it's all stored together. It's pretty handy. You can get just plain loading blocks for a 617. Then when you get to the range, or if you're taking it somewhere, you got to sit there and load all of your rounds in the loading block ahead of time, or at the range. I like to load all that stuff ahead of time and just go to the range, and between this gun and other guns I have tons of mags. They're all loaded. I just go there and shoot up, all the stuff that I've loaded, practice, and have a great time, and then just come home. So anyway, I do wish they made one of these that was a bit bigger, that held, twice this many rounds, and maybe a couple speed loaders. That'd be pretty sweet. That'd be something I'd be interested in. Now, this 617 overall, like as I mentioned, a lot of issues with it from the factory. All of those issues have been worked out. I'm very pleased with the handgun now. Now, I bought another one with a 4-inch barrel. I believe it's 4 inches. I don't think it's 3. I think it's 4-inch. I think they make a 4 and a 6. That right now is on its way back from Smith & Wesson from repairs. That gun came, had problems with the trigger, had problems with the, I don't know what you call this, cylinder release mechanism. When you'd push this button in, it would bind, and the cylinder would not come out unless you were pretty hard on it. I think they call it like the ejector rod or something like that, was not machined properly. Anyway, that one had problems, and it's on its way back now. Now, it's pretty hard to give these guns like an amazing review and recommend them when I've had as many problems with them as I've had. But let me tell you, if you get one that works and that has a good trigger and all that kind of stuff, they are awesome firearms. I'm really concerned that Smith & Wesson may become the next Remington. I've bought 3 firearms from them I bought 3 firearms within 3 months, and every single one of them had to go back to the factory with major issues. So that's kind of what happened to Remington. They had some firearms that were awesome in their lineup. The 870 Wingmaster, the 870 Express, iconic firearms, and were very well known for being reliable, robust firearm designs. The Model 700, amazing design that has stood the test of time. And Remington took these amazing quality, or these amazing designs, and let the quality control just go down the drain, and it just totally ruined their reputation. And I think, in my opinion, between that and the lawsuits, ultimately led to their bankruptcy. Let me tell you, if Smith & Wesson does the same thing, and they take these beautiful, iconic firearms that people love, and they love them because of the quality and the performance of them, and you let that quality factor go down the drain, there's not too many people that are going to put up with that for very long before they're just going to jump ship and go somewhere else. So anyway, love the Smith & Wesson 617. I do recommend it, assuming that you get one that performs the way this one performs now. But from my experience with the last 2, with the 2 that I bought, both of them had problems. So if you're going to get one, go into it knowing that you may have to deal with some of that, and you might be waiting 2 months or whatever it takes to get it all sorted out and get them back. But so far, they have fixed this one, and when I get the other one back, we'll see how they did on it in terms of repair and make sure that everything is the way that it should be. Anyway, couple other things I want to mention about this gun is the double action trigger pull. Now that it's been smoothed out is great, but the single action trigger pull on these is sensational. And if you want to lighten it up a little bit more, you can get like a Wilson Combat springs or Wolf springs, and depending on what you put into this firearm, there's a couple different springs. There's a spring that primarily affects the single action pull, and then there's one that primarily affects the double action pull. And when you open these up and see the way they operate, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to show you that in this video, but you can actually put in a much lighter weight spring as long as the trigger is smooth, and it will still reset. You can go quite light on the single action and just get an absolutely sensational single action pull. Every bit as good as like my Browning Buckmark or my Ruger Mark IV. Maybe not quite as light as my Ruger Mark IV because of that Volquartsen trigger, but every bit as crisp and quite light. Very, very good single action trigger pull. Anyway, so yeah. That concludes my review of the Smith & Wesson Model 617. I think it's a wonderful design, and I hope Smith & Wesson gets their act together in terms of quality control, because these types of designs deserve to have an appropriate level of quality control. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.